Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis.
What do you do to market your camp when it's hard to do so?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what's really important, camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camphacker.
Hello, Camp Mavericks. Welcome to the CampHacker podcast brought to you by UltraCamp. My name is Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I help camps translate what they do so that parents insist on sending their kids to summer camp.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a social worker and the camp director of Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for children who have LGBTQ parents. It's the best one in the country. There it is. Hi.
Perfect.
I love that. And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro, which is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada. And we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And it is the best one in the country. And this I know.
Yeah.
I want to welcome you all to the show today. I want to remind you that reviews help us out a ton. We'd be so grateful if you would take a second. If you went to ratethispodcast.com/camp, you can leave a rating and review for the CampHacker podcast. But also, if you like this, just screenshot it and send it to a friend and say, hey, you should really listen to this. Today, we want to talk about what do we do when it's hard to market camp, when you're stuck, when you're not sure, when you're feeling super uncomfortable about it. Chris, in general, how do you feel about camp marketing?
Okay. Listeners, I'm being set up because right before we started, I said these words. I hate marketing. I hate it. And when we started the camp, it was one thing I was like, how do we tell people? Because I don't want to. I don't want to. I have to write ad copy. I write the newsletter. And every time I do, the newsletter is like 4 paragraphs. It takes me an hour and a half. And I am legitimately crying, legitimately upset about the entire thing. And the copy is like, hey, parents, well, happy November or whatever. And this is what's going on and how you doing and can't wait to see you. And I'm miserable about it. Buying ads, miserable about it. It's just my weakest, as a camp director, it is my weakest attribute. The fact that we are successful just shows you how great the other attributes are, because I swear to God. I swear.
Chris, that's a marketing tagline right there.
I tell you.
We don't do marketing good, but we do camp good. Actually, that's by way of explanation and apology. That's not a bad one. Obviously it gets done. But I have to tell you, the last couple of years, we don't do as much marketing. We really don't. We rely on a lot of word of mouth. We rely on the same channels that we've been using for a decade. And there's just not a lot of exploration because both me and Jackie, the other director, that is not our strong suits. We are constantly trying to hit the ball back and forth in each other's court because we don't want to do it. So I'm looking forward to this conversation because I am definitely, I'm on the podcast, but I am definitely listening for tips. Well, I love that. Travis and I are marketing geeks in the sense that we could sit down and just chit chat about marketing and it would be a fun conversation. And I think a lot of people, camp directors specifically, would stand up and leave that table. It's not necessarily the passion of a lot of camp directors. And I've met so many camp directors that are flooded by marketing and overwhelmed. I think there's so many reasons. One, that's not the initial reason why a lot of camp directors become camp directors, but two, if you're
a lot of camp directors are doers. They just want to get the stuff done and not take time away from that. And also if you're sort of introverted or you can be humble and be a marketer, but I think you have to sort of get over that aspect of being humble, whatever that means to you. And for me, I think honestly that camps are, in a way, our society's best kept secret. I really do believe that. And my goal is to help camp professionals to talk about their camp in a way that feels authentic to them and feels good to them. It's the same, like, you want to move, you want to work out, but maybe a gym's not for you, but running in a park with some kids is what's going to help you. It's finding what feels good to you when you're looking at marketing and seeing what feels great. And then the stuff that you don't want to do is there some minion on your team that's super excited about social media, TikTok, that kind of thing, and you be their guide in making sure that they do know how to use the right language when they're talking about your organization. Sort of make that list, the things that you can tolerate and the things that you just absolutely dread, and see if there's other people that can take care of that. But for the most part, my goal when it comes to marketing is to help camps no longer be a best kept secret, because I really do think that society can benefit from having more kids go to camp.
We talked earlier this season about the benefits of delegating, and this is a classic. You don't have to be the one to do this. I know that camp directors often have been made to feel that they need to be excellent at everything and do everything without sharing, without sharing leadership, without sharing the growth that comes from taking on these things. But it doesn't have to be you. And I think there's a couple of starting points for me in terms of what do you do when you're so uncomfortable, made incredibly uncomfortable by marketing. So number one is you have to have a good product. You have to have a good camp so that this underlying value, I've been doing research on camp marketing now for 15 years. And every camp I talk to says that most kids who are new to camp that year have come through word of mouth. And so that should be a relief to you, but it should also be hey, let's focus on that. Let's figure out how to make that better. Let's give people the tools to better talk about us. I'll deal with that in some detail, but I think a good product is part one. And then the other part that I hope, and certainly this applies to you, Chris, and with your discomfort, is all good marketing is telling stories. And Chris, certainly you're a great storyteller, but a lot of camp directors are good storytelling. And it just comes to a point that we back ourselves into a corner where we see a blinking cursor on a screen and the stories seem to leave us. And so I think, the first act of a good, uncomfortable camper who's uncomfortable with camp marketing is start collecting stories. Just write down the stories of your experiences and the changes you felt. Camp is a story about transformation. And so think about the kids, the staff, and your own experiences about how camp has changed that particular person. And that is what, let alone all the technical side behind marketing, that is what I think changes opinions.
I love that. And that is far from the first time that I've heard this, probably from you. I've heard that a lot. And then, so as like a theoretical construct, like I understand that. When I have the time one-on-one to sit with someone and talk about camp, like I have them rah-rah-rahing in 15 minutes, right? They're diehard fans, right? Because I'm that good and camp is that good. Talk about having a good product. Camp is a fantastic product. The thing is, how do you translate that, the storytelling aspect, when you have the time and a willing audience, to some of the other ways that camps are marketing via their website, via social media, via print or online ads, figuring out how to tell the story in those ways, I find is a little bit more difficult. Yeah. So what would you say to that? Like, how do we translate the storytelling construct, which I think is a fantastic one, to sort of these more discrete ways of marketing our camps?
Yeah. I love that. So I think let's define quickly like marketing. For me, marketing is any opportunity you have to connect with somebody. When you have an opportunity to connect with somebody, you're marketing your camp. So, if you're at a party or whatever, and somebody asks you what you do, and you take the deep, brave breath of saying you're a camp director with the whiplash of what do you do the rest of the year or whatever. Once you get
so
through
you
that
play
part,
games all year? That's
exactly.
your job?
You're so lucky. And you're like, no, I have to market. You don't even understand. So hard. But every time you have a connection. So I think where we forget, just start with the application for campers to come to camp. What does that language look like? Where's the personality of the camp that's coming out? In the application, is it slightly cheeky? Is it supportive? When every time a family is connecting because they have to with you, can you go over that and just tweak that so that your personality can come out and it's useful? And for my camp, what I try to think of is the camp's personality is slightly cheeky, but we will do anything to make your life easier. And how we do that is we think of everything. We think of everything before you could even, think of it, saying, oh, I love this packing guide. It's so well organized because it's set up in the aisles of different stores. Like we've thought of that for you. And of course we haven't thought of everything, but that's sort of the main goal. So instead of starting with a blank slate of my Instagram feed or this newsletter that's so daunting, look at what you already have and how in any point that families are creating a connection with you, how can you adjust your language or even the images to represent you better? And I think that camp directors get burned because a lot of families and staff members don't read our literature. And so get frustrated and say, well, what's the point of me putting into that? And I will say this over and over again. Families need to have your material in different places and in different ways multiple times. You need to repeat yourself, and you have to lessen the amount of language that you're using. If you love writing and you're great at doing this amazing, gorgeous blog, do that blog, but make sure you have the bullet point version at the very top. Lessen that language. So I think what happens is we get hesitant to put time and energy into it because we realize that our families aren't paying attention, but that's simply because we haven't had maybe put in the time to lessen the language to add the personality. But start with the essentials and tweak it and get excited about that piece before you go anywhere else.
That was awesome. I'm so glad we're recording this.
Well, Chris, when I think about what I mean by collect stories and tell stories is that if you can tell stories, then you don't have to think about what's the marketing language. You can have story, call to action. So you don't have to frame a newsletter to your current camp families around registrations opening. It could just be simply a story. So if I tell you the story of a camper that we had whose name is Harry, who was, from the time he arrived at camp at 7, was a certifiable genius. Like, we knew, Harry's family knew, his schools knew, etc. And his family said his sisters had a great time at camp, and we'd known Harry since he was 4 because he could talk to adults like no kid you ever knew when he was 4. Harry came to camp, and his parents were like, Harry doesn't fit in anywhere. He, just has such a hard time, but he really wants to try camp because his sisters love it. And we're like, great, we will do that. We will do everything we can to make sure Harry has the best possible experience. Now, Harry had a good time at camp, enjoyed the activities, certainly didn't have a lot of very close friends, but he had kids who respected him and had a ton of adults who looked up to him. And over Harry's time as a camper, we built in opportunities for Harry to let that hairiness shine. And all of that meant that by the time he was 14 and struggling with some real mental health struggles, that he had camp as a place that was safe for him, and that these things would be a part of the support system for him. That is a simple story based on the truth about a camper amalgamation of campers that we had. That talks about the value of camp. And people are engaged in leaning into a story because they're interested to know what happens with this kid as this kid gets older. And that is enough. That's marketing. If people of the story of someone's struggle that found a place at camp that couldn't find a place anywhere else.
Why do you think it is that camp directors have such an issue with marketing? Not all camp directors, but I mean, there's more than a few that I've talked to who's like, oh my gosh, that's my least favorite thing too. And like, I go back to what Gabz was saying about Travis, you said about it has to be a good product.
Mm-hmm.
Like camp is, I mean, it's my favorite product. Like, and maybe I'm biased, right? Maybe I'm biased, but like, I feel like we all have such a great product and we all love to talk about it. I try to figure out for myself and then for other people as well, like where is the disconnect then?
Yeah, and I think that is an important part important place to start. Most people that own and run or work for a small business, if most of those individuals have a hard time marketing. So if you look in the restaurant industry, the chef, if you're excited about the food, you're not excited necessarily about the marketing and getting people. You want people in your restaurant, but that's why there's a restaurant manager that's coming in to do that. So it is, I think, a lot of the multiple hats, and it's not necessarily what drives you to like in your job. Jackie, my camp director, like you, Chris, marketing, ew. She's so excited that she has a daughter that's so excited about marketing. And I think that whatever your reason is, that what's helpful is to look at like, what can you connect to it in a positive way? So for me, why I'm excited, I'll just tell you my reason why I'm excited about marketing is because as somebody that has learning differences, information has always been almost like it's been a locked gate for me. So I don't have access to information as easily as other people. But the way information is presented through marketing, it's usually done in a way that has snippets. And I'm just very excited about people understanding information. Like I get so excited about that. And so for marketing, for me, what it is that other people get to know information. And because I was lacked in knowing information, I'm just excited about that. So me, it's an opportunity for education. It's an opportunity to create that link. And I think that it's very daunting because it's marketing can be so vague and can be anywhere. And sometimes it's like, who am I to say these things about the work that I am doing personally myself for this camp? And that can get really confusing, which is why on my team, I'm not the person that's in charge necessarily of marketing. I'm part of a team because I have those same hangups when I'm talking about my camp. I get myself mixed in and I start thinking, well, it's not that special, or, but that's why I also have a therapist. Now she helps me with that type of internal monologue.
Work. Okay. You think it's different now than it was like 20 years ago? Because when I think about marketing, I think a lot about, when we started out marketing for our camp, it was a lot of Facebook ad buys, which was at the time really successful for us. But that was back before Facebook completely became evil, and people were still on the platform. And I think about now, like the young people that we hire, like, oh, well, are you doing anything on TikTok? I'm like, what? I have people advertising things on TikTok and they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I hear that and I simply cannot attend. So in that way, it feels really different. Like, do you all market on the socials?
I think what you're talking about, Chris, is it's like, it'll never end. like, it's not like a garage that you get to clean out and then feel satisfied afterwards. It's like you start cleaning out the garage, and then there's a whole other room called TikTok, and now you have to go into TikTok, and now, but what about Instagram? I haven't started cleaning that out yet. And I think it's almost like this never ending, mountain of stuff that you have to do. So that's overwhelming.
Constant adjusting. It's constant adjusting and streamlining a message. Across multiple platforms, because everyone receives things differently. Like I said, like you said, like no one reads anything unless it's in front of them 6 times, 7 times before something like it sinks in.
Yeah. But I think so here's one of the things that I think about. I think about how we built our business. So what I did was I was a camp director who was interested in marketing and thought, well, I want a chance to get to know tons of other camps and get to learn all this stuff. And this is a way for me to do so. So how do we build our business? I know this about me, that I hate writing. And writing stuff, I've gotten much better at it since we started our business, but I still don't like it. It is a thing that I will procrastinate to the last hour. And so I knew that if I was to build a business, I'd had to do something that I could do. Not that I was capable of, that I would actually do. And so therefore we create podcasts and we create a place online called the Summer Camp Professionals Group, because I am happy to chit chat with anybody about camp ideas and sharing camp ideas. And so what I did was I realized there's things that I would not push myself to do. And I just pushed that aside and just focused on my strengths. And so I think it's the same for every camp director. Think about a medium that works for you, whether it is beautiful photography and a bit of text, or, and a write-up about that, or it is video stuff. Like I have no problems about standing in front of my phone and talking to my phone with very little prep and just a little outline. A lot of people, I understand that terrifies them. And so what I encourage people to do is think about the medium that you will actually do, and then use all other media to drive people to that place. So yes, you should have an email newsletter. You should have at least a spot on Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok these days. I definitely think it's worth camps owning their own name at minimum on there. But use all those things to drive people to the place where you are comfortable and that you can tell your stories in your own way. Even if that is creating infographics in some simple program like Canva that explain the benefits of things. If that's what you like to do, then don't fight because of the shoulds. Don't fight because you heard you should be doing this. Use all those things to go to the thing that you will actually do. It'll set you apart from other camps who are doing all of the things but not well. You're doing one thing better than okay, and you're driving people to that. So that's one of the strategies I try to get people to do when they get super stuck, is find something that you will do. If you're uncomfortable being on video and you don't like to write, then do podcasts. And don't do podcasts like us. Like we know we're recording to YouTube at the same time that we're recording the audio. Just put out the audio. Have a conversation with friends. Have a conversation with staff or parents, or all of those things that really can help people understand that you have good stories to tell, and you know what their lives are like, and how camp is the solution to that.
I really like the focus on doing the thing that you can do. I think the thing that I'm really good at is like the one-on-one. So for many years, we went to, it's a queer camp. So we went to every Pride festival in the summer. It was like, we say we're going on tour. Like we just go for 3 weeks and drive around the country to this, just meeting people and shaking hands. Like I'd be a great politician. That worked for me. That was our marketing. And whereas like you, Travis, having to write something. Now I'm a good writer. I know this, but in order to produce that writing that you read and you're like, oh, wow, that was really good. When I say tears, literally I'm 12 years old writing a 50-page paper on Norway. By the way, when I was 12 years old, we had to write 50 pages.
On Norway?
50 pages in 6th grade.
When you're 12? It's a whole other conversation that we can't
50.
unpack right
Let's
now.
talk about
Tell
it
us
after
about
this.
pickled fish, Chris?
No,
You got
I
a
know
little fish in your
everything.
back pocket about pickled
You
fish?
want to know about fjords? Anyway, having to write takes me back to that, like at the dinner table, like crying. So I love the idea of like leaning into the thing that you're doing, because like, the title of this episode is like how to do marketing when you don't want to. And I think the part of the answer to that is like, listen, there's some part of this that you can do. There's some part of it. It may not be the most effective or efficient, but there's some part of it you can do. Right.
But I would also say that the unfortunate thing is that with this, I would like to reevaluate your newsletter and say, like, do we really need this? Like, I'm like, this to me sounds like it, you perhaps not, or we can pass this on to somebody else. But the when you're forcing yourself to do something that you truly, truly don't want to do, and it's underneath the umbrella of marketing, then everything else gets a little bit of that Eeyore feeling vibe on it. And can we sort of take away that piece? Because my goodness, you should not be feeling that way when you're doing marketing. And when you said that you went on tour, basically on tour 3 weeks, going to all the Pride events, A, invite me next time. B, this is something, I don't have a word for it, but I'm going to call it propagate marketing, where you have one piece of marketing, which is your one-on-one, which you're brilliant with. Then 2, how can we propagate that information like you do with a plant that loses a branch and you stick it in water? How can we use that in calling it the 3-week tour and post and have daily posts on Instagram? And how can we take those posts and once a week, we do a highlight blog of the people that you met and how they were awesome. And then you put also on your website, next year's tour, we're going to be going here, here, and here, come and join us. So you're taking what you love to do, that you're good at doing. And then how can we propagate from there? So you're still connected to the piece that's exciting. And Chris, I would literally follow that, even though I, don't have kids and I won't be sending them to your camp. But my goodness, this is exciting. Like, I want to follow that story. I want to follow this. And this is like, news people should be interested in you doing this. Radio shows should be interested. This is an exciting thing that you're doing, and we can propagate marketing from there.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about it quite like that. Marketing.
I wonder if we could
change the name of marketing so it's not as triggering.
There you go. I wonder if we could spend the last few minutes on the topic thinking about practical things that people can do. Like, I'm stuck today. What do I do? And, if you don't mind, I'll start us off and throw to the two
Love
of you.
it.
So number one is every camp should do this, even though I'm saying this for someone who's uncomfortable with marketing. This should be every camp's focus. You should always focus on, especially in marketing, because marketing is not your job. Your job is to change lives. And so it's a part of it's a part of your job that supports the other part. It supports the mission. And so focus on what's efficient and effective. So marketing a product like a camp, and this isn't exactly the same if you're brand new, but if you've got 1 year under your belt, this is where you always start. You start on getting last year's campers to come back. That's efficient and effective. It's much easier to get them to come back than it is to find 12 to replace those 12 kids, 12 people off the street to replace those. So focus on getting kids to come back, get them to families to commit early, and get them in so you've got some momentum. Psychologically, it helps. The second focus is always the word of mouth. Everybody knows, as I said, for some camps, it's 80 to 90% of new kids every year come from word of mouth. So you have to give families a tool to do that. Good product is the ultimate tool, but it's not the only one. And you have to remind families and ask them. Sometimes the simple act of saying, if you have a friend who has a child who, would fit at camp, please tell them about camp. Because they just, everybody is busy. They have their own lives. Simple, regular reminders from their camps that say, We're so grateful if you see a kid who needs camp, please tell them. That can be helpful instead of just saying, we get all of our new kids from word of mouth, but I can't believe we get so few new kids. It's like, well, that has to be your responsibility. You have to take responsibility for that. So efficient, effective, most is last year's kids, get them to come back, or past kids to come back, their friends. Third is alumni, people who know the camp story and can tell the camp story and, know what the kids are like. Focus on them. Then all the other shit that's piled into marketing, social media, email newsletters, paid media, paid ads, etc., all of that is incredibly less effective. Like, it is orders of magnitude less effective than focusing on the first three. And the first three, those are all about relationships. Mm-hmm. Those are all about the things that make camp. And so you give yourself the easy wins and the easy focus. And I mean, the number of times I've had camp clients come to me and say, well, some, SEO company has said that if we give them $50,000, we'll show up on the first page of the search results. It's like, it's such a waste of money and time. Focus, do it if you've done all the other things and you're super happy and you're ready to play. And if you've done all those other things, you focus on the top three, past kids, their friends, and alumni, and you've got tons of money flowing in, then maybe you can afford to play. But don't start with ads and all of those things. Start with what's easy. So that's my first best piece of advice, is focus on what's effective. And then if you've got time to play. But don't, all of the stuff that I think is most stressful for most camp directors is the stuff that I just put in the play pile. Like, do it if you can, do it if you got time. But don't waste time on that stuff if you've got, I know camps that have the world's worst websites that have waiting lists.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we don't need to spend money on this. They're like, great, I love you. You're smart. That's good. Gab, what would you say if someone's just, if it's stuck and wondering what to start with?
Chris, I just heard you laugh.
just thinking about that. I'm thinking about that marketing. World's worst website. Come to our camp. I just
there you go.
That's all you need. That's where you start.
Not marketing. Done.
Yeah,
that's it.
You did it.
Totally. That's a great camp story.
Yeah, it's in there. Okay, so yes to everything that Travis said. Here are a couple of tools that you can use. Travis has mentioned Bongiorno before, which is, individualized videos that you can send out to people. I'm using right now Loom, Loom, and it's free. And what this does is it takes really great it's a screen sharing app, basically, where you can record what you're talking about. So, if there's a place where families have a hard time with your registration or navigating your website or whatever, have a couple of these videos already pre-done so that if those questions come up, you can send them a quick email with this video. Why I like this is that they actually provide you with a thumbnail GIF that's moving in the email. So it's so professional in the sense where it's not just a link. You can actually see the person's face and not just the screen. And it has a little bit of editing options as well. So fairly easy to use, free for videos that are under 5 minutes. And that's something that would use the top 5 questions that you get on a regular basis, answer them with using Loom. Also, we talked about propagate marketing, which, who knows, maybe there's another title for that, but for the time being, use Canva. So again, that can be free, or you can get a paid subscription, but Canva will format things for Facebook, Instagram, different layouts, but the same message. So you don't have to create 3 or 4 different images. You can have something that has a header, blah, blah, blah. Go just use Canva. And then lastly, use the hashtag thanks to camp, which is an international marketing campaign. But more importantly, you can have this is your Camp Happy Fun, hashtag thanks to camp week, and reach out to your families that are excited to tell their stories. And they can post a picture on their own social media feeds and just finish the sentence, thanks to camp, ... So staff members can do this, campers can do this. You can collect them and post it yourself. But a lot of the time people don't know where to start to talk about why they love camp. Just have them finish that sentence. Thanks to camp, I learned how to make my bed almost every day. That's amazing. So, and there's thanks to camp.org you can look up as well. So all of this stuff is free. And if anything speaks to you, then use it. If none of it does, then don't, go back to what Travis was saying. Maybe it's in the play pile. But those are three things that you could use.
I will add in that there are super simple things that you can do to just set yourself apart from other camps that your families are considering. This is a story. I tell this story all the time because it stuns me so much. I've told it, I think, in every presentation I've done at camp conferences this fall, and I've told it lots of times before. Joanna Warren Smith talks all the time about this experience that she consistently has. So talking about good product, Joanna's whole business is built around helping camps market themselves. But a huge part of that is that she helps them understand how their product could be better. Getting Joanna on your site to walk through camp and see camp through her eyes, having seen, a few hundred camps is an amazing resource for a camp because that helps her do the marketing piece with folks. So that's one of it. But simple story, this thing that happens to Joanna consistently, and it has, for as long as I've known Joanna, she's told this story. It happens over and over again. Part of her work is sitting down and doing focus groups with camp families and, having the conversation. And one of her questions is always, why did you choose this camp? And the answer that happens every focus group she runs over every year consistently is because they called us back. And that camps have families
that's a lot. Wow.
who've been there who will say that we called 4 or 5, and this was the 6th camp that we called to leave a message. And because they called us back, we understood that they would at least take us seriously, that they would communicate with us. And that was the first step to trust building. All these other camps just never even called them back, not even called back later, and not even called back within 48 hours, but just didn't call back, period. And that is such a trust message to families. Like, who would send their kid? I have one last question that I need answered before I put my credit card in to reserve my spot for my kid, and you won't return my calls. Fine if you don't answer the calls. Everybody knows there's a lot going on, but if you don't return the calls, that is such a signpost to families. So that's a simple thing.
Huge.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that story. Wow. And also, in some ways, it describes the low bar that people have.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like it's what it means. What that says to me, someone who's uncomfortable with marketing, is that sometimes, less can be enough, especially if this is difficult for you. I feel like I say this whenever we're giving practical advice on this podcast. I feel like I say the same thing every time, but you know what? You're going to hear it. You have to just do it. You have to put one foot in front of the other and just do it, And if that's you at a computer crying in front of a blank screen, but you get it out, great. Then you got it out. Because as Travis is saying, sometimes it could be the littlest thing that gets you a client and gets you a family. That's really powerful. That's going to stick with me for a while. Talk about storytelling, Travis.
And I will say with what Chris is saying is that maybe try to find, if you find yourself crying, then maybe let's see if there's a lighter load that you can lift that's going to have the same amount of impact. So you're not dreading it so that you have a higher chance of doing it. But like you said, Chris, it's a low bar, but maybe not in a bad way. If you're clear, consistent, and replying back consistently on the platforms that you're on, or just even your email / your phone messages, you're already there, and if you can be consistent and find things that you're passionate about to talk about that doesn't feel so painful, then maybe you will also remain, getting this stuff done. But yes, sometimes you have to just start. Just do that 10 minutes. Do 10 minutes, see where you're at after that.
For sure. Set a timer and it's just try it for 6 if you can't do 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Just build up that muscle. Yeah. I want to not lose a piece. Calling people back is a word of mouth strategy.
Right.
All of those camps that those families did not get callbacks from.
Absolutely.
They told their friends.
Yeah.
I talked about in my word of mouth session, some of the experiences that I've had that have made me, that I have told hundreds of times. When I was getting married, I had a kilt custom made for me to wear at my wedding ceremony. And between starting the preparations so I had to have my kilt modified to wear to my wedding. I had my kilt made. I had to have it modified. And I took it into the store and I said, I need to, sort of embarrassingly say, I need to have some more pleats put into my kilt to wear to my wedding. And this lady yelled out in the store in a Scottish accent, "Oh, it's because you got fat." And
wow,
this could be my sweariest podcast CampHacker ever. I told that freaking story a million times. Do not go to those arseholes because they're not going to treat you right. Over something that was it was a huge investment for me in my 20s to put up this stuff, to have this made, and then have that experience. So bad experiences people will talk about as well as the good, but that's a marketing tool. Reply to messages. So that's a
comment on people's bodies.
I'm reeling.
Yes, and so many other things.
Basically,
so many other not to do. Let me say one other thing that I think is important and sort of a beginner do stuff. A thing that I find frustrating is that camps will send out an email on the day that registration launches and say, okay, registration's open. And then they feel like they begin their marketing. And to me, the day the registration opens should be the height of your marketing. You should have built up to it for ages. When you have said, and people know the time's coming, effectively you're marketing your marketing. You're like, this moment is coming. And here's why you should register early, etc. Then you again give yourself a huge amount of momentum. If on that first day they're not getting the first email on that, your returning families are not getting that first email. If instead it is the culmination of a marketing period, then you get lots of kids at the beginning. You feel good. You feel more powerful. You're giving yourself that satisfaction of a strong start. And for some camps, if they've done it well, it could mean that they fill camp in a week and they're done. And they don't have to do this. I mean, that's the other part of this. If you market the crap out of stuff and you just fill, again, focusing on those top 3 categories, then you don't have to do much marketing for the rest of the year. You can focus on other things. So there's a few things I think that are practical that you can do on a time off, on a downtime, or when you feel like you haven't reached out to your families. But definitely keep communicating to your families between when they leave camp and when registration starts. And then, keep communicating over and over and over again, because they're much easier to keep happy and keep involved than dragging in some kid off the street.
Well said.
Yeah.
Gab, do you have any other thoughts or things you'd recommend?
Not at this moment. But I enjoyed this conversation, and Chris, I love the perspective, because it's important to have
definitely
the resistance, because there's a reason behind that, right?
Absolutely.
So, it's not just about the tips and tricks. It's also figuring out what you connect with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. This has been super helpful to me, and I hope other people are listening who are in the same boat as me, who would rather close camp up than to do marketing. All right, that's drama. That's drama. I'm not closing camp. Don't do that. Just do the marketing. Don't do that. But yeah, this has been really. Thanks for the space, everybody.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I am going to shift gears a little bit. I want to take a second and tell you about UltraCamp. We're grateful to UltraCamp for their sponsorship of the CampHacker podcast. UltraCamp gives you powerful tools to help you, again, get to focus on the things that you love about camp, the difference making. Exclusive to CampHacker listeners, that's you. You can determine the 10 best marketing tools and tips, very apropos of today's conversation. They have put them together for camps. So if you go to ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker, all one word, download their free guide, The Marketing Toolbox. That can give you some power. That can give you some more techniques to give you a real focus if you're feeling lost and feeling like you don't know what to do today to market camp. And so these folks really know that you didn't get into camp to do these things that make you uncomfortable. You got in there to have and provide experiences for kids and young adults. And they build the tools to make you do that. They created the software to help camp professionals like yourself handle the camp registration and management stuff quickly and efficiently. So they give you these powerful tools that put you in control of your information. You can automate your billing. You can create custom reports that give you the tools to do some of this stuff. You can manage your hiring process, including having integrated background checks as part of their application process. You can communicate with your customers and donors, and you can really add efficiency by using their automations and give the things that you can create once that run year over year, over and over again. So you don't have to keep typing that stuff in when it comes time to answer parents' questions. You can put the platform to work for you. So UltraCamp's goal is to provide the best resources so that their clients can spend more time in camp doing the thing that they do best, having an impact. If this doesn't sound like your camp registration software, don't you think it should? Please visit their website at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker and set up a time to chat. They look forward to meeting you. This means, therefore, that we are on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
So we spend time each week between shows researching, trying, testing, thinking about things that will make your job a little bit easier. And I'm going to start us off with my tool this week. If you're on listening to this in your car, you might choose to go to YouTube, or you could just go to camphacker.tv/podcast and look up the show notes. I'm talking about a simple tool called ZappPad, ZAPP. PAD, ZAPP plus PAD, and it is a tool for running Zoom meetings. And it gives you all of the tools that you need to mute yourself, to turn your video off, to share your screen, to end a show, etc. It's a separate little keyboard that goes beside my keyboard that I pull out just when I'm doing meetings, so that I can mute myself when I'm not talking. I can start the recording, stop the recording, etc. from ZappPad. So go to like our other tools, go to camphacker.tv/podcast and look for the tool of the week section. This in particular is episode 158. So there you go. Chris, what is your tool of the week?
I'm kind of excited about this. My tool of the week is a game called Spot It. Spot It is a card game, which comes in an adorable little tin. And inside you'll find 55 cards. And each of those cards have 8 different symbols on it. There's 57 possible different symbols. Could be a ladybug, a cute pussycat. It could be a carrot. It could be an ice cube. It could be all sorts of things. And the idea is that the game is you're playing against other people, and for every pair of cards, there is exactly one symbol on it that matches, right? So if I'm looking at one card and there's like 8 cards laid out, there is only between any 2 cards, there's only one symbol that matches. And so it's like a speed game, and it's a lot of fun. It plays really quickly. Caveat: if you have some young people who are neuroatypical, sometimes the pressure of this can be, I've seen it, it can be very, very upsetting. But for everyone else, it's a really great time. What I find really great about Spot It is that besides the fact that you can stick in your pocket, pull it out anywhere, it's a great way when you have like 10 minutes between things to fill in the time. What was really intriguing is when I did my research, because yes, I research games. Everyone calm down. When I did my research, there's actually a fascinating story behind this. Like, this game got its start in 1850, and it came out of like a mathematical project or something that someone was doing. Like, these very, very brilliant mathematicians were working on this problem. And we can link to the article where it spells all this out from 1850 to now being one of the top 10 best-selling games on Amazon. But like, the fact that there are 55 cards with 57 different symbols, and on any 2 cards, only one symbol matches, is really a feat of math magic. And so the article talks about that. Anyway, pick up Spot It. It's a good time for anyone, any age.
See, you researching games like this, Chris, just means you're people like us.
Yeah.
And people like us do stuff like that.
One of us.
That's
One
right.
of us.
The other piece is that there is a Spot It camping version, which has
Really?
camp-related stuff. Yeah. It's not about summer camp. It's about, going camping, but it has lots of things that move over.
Cool.
Great pick. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is the Logitech K380 keyboard. And the reason why I like this keyboard is 1, it works for PCs and for Macs. 2, it's not that expensive. It's around $50 Canadian, which there you go, Americans, sounds a little cheaper. And 3, which is the main reason why I have this, is that you can use it on multiple devices. So right now it can connect to my computer, my iPad, and my phone. And with just the touch of a button, I can select what device I want to tap on. The reason why I have this is because I'm trying to not pick up my phone as much, because when I do, then I'm down some rabbit hole that I really didn't intend on going. So just keeping my hands on the keyboard has helped me do that. And it's tiny. I'll hold it up for people that are watching us on YouTube, but it's a very tiny portable keyboard. So you can bring that with you if you're traveling. So it's just something that allows you to type on multiple devices at once.
Thanks so much, Gab. That's a great one. And I've read so many great reviews about this keyboard. It has more than 10,000 reviews on Amazon.com.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Right on. Well, again, we encourage you to go to camphacker.tv/podcast and check out the show notes there, the links to all of these things. And some of them, if they're Amazon links, support the show in a way. So we appreciate that. But I want to thank the both of you for having this conversation with me today. And hopefully we've given some folks some good ideas and something helpful when they're really stuck. Gab, if people want to follow up, how can I get in touch with you?
They can contact me at info@waro.com, OUAREAU.com, or they can check me out on Instagram at Gabrielle Rail, and Rail takes 2 L's.
Thanks, Gab. Chris?
You can find me on Instagram at PlanetChris1. That's Planet Chris, the number 1. Or you can check out Camp Highlight at Camp Highlight on Instagram, and you can check out the marketing that we're doing there. So.
Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate your sharing today. So again, share this episode if you've learned something. If you've heard a friend from camp talk about how much they're struggling with this, please just text them this episode. Do the screen grabs I talked about before if you want to, or just text them and say, you got to listen to this. Each of the podcast apps have an easy way to share episodes, and we would be so grateful if you did that. We thank UltraCamp for sponsoring CampHacker this season. And to all of you listening and watching on YouTube, thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. CampHacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the CampHacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.